It's okay. So good afternoon or good evening, everybody, depending to where you are. So just I'm Modou, CTO of AGLSM. We are a French company localized in Bordeaux. So I just start by simple warning. If you hear some crowd about me or some noise, I think it's normal. Actually, France is playing the football soccer team of France is actually playing, and I think in case of goal, you can hear a lot of noise about me. So just it's normal. I just wanted to start with that. So anyway, first of all, I want to start with a warm thank to all members of the IIIF committee. They do a wonderful effort since many years for developing the IIIF technology, and the community is for us. We are specialized on building web solutions for archive service. We especially have an open source solutions Playad, which are reference in France for indexing and presenting archive data format like EAD, CSV, or METS, Alto, and OCR. So anyway, in Playad, actually we fully implemented the version 2.0 of presentation and image API of IIIF. But since the beginning, the first problem we have to deal with is about norms and process. And I think, as many of you knows very well, especially for a person who work on archive sectors, norm and process are extremely important in archive sectors, especially for naming, storing, and serving digital objects like image, PDF documents, movies, audio, etc. Just for giving a simple example, for example, in the archive sector, just for files, you can't name a file as you want. You have norm for how you name your files. So it's norms and process are really important on archive sectors. So since the beginning, we have to find an efficient, persistent, and normalized way to identify and to deal in IIIF with digital objects. And the purpose of this presentation is to show the solution we found by connecting the protocol IIIF and a system of identification, which are well known in archive sector, and the name of that system is ARC. So anyway, just for continuing, for obvious reason, the IIIF framework needs identifier for pointing digital object. You can see in many parts of the framework, you have to use the identification and identifier. And with the specification of presentation and image API, identifier are not just a unique serial character, but they may have three properties. First of all, the identifier are unique and always in URI format. Second of all, if the resource is retrievable via the web, then the identifier must permit to access the resource as URI. And finally, and the most important point for us, the identifier may offer a system of hierarchy. It means if a resource is a physical or a logical descendant of another one, identifier of that two resources must reflect the connection between both. And as I said, the last point is the most problematic in archive sector because all digital objects are always stored with the strict logical and physical organization. It means all data are linked with, between them. And if you work with IIIF, the identification system itself must be completely based on representing digital objects and the hierarchy between them. So the solution we found is to try to make the connection between the IIIF, the IIIF framework, and then the identification system we use in archive sector. And that identification system is the ARK, and ARK for Archive Resource Key. It's an identification system used mainly since 2001, so it's well known in our sector. And an ARK identifier is really simple to explain that system of the system of ARK identification. It's an URL, and in the URL you have three parts of or three components. The first part is that we call the NMA, the Name Mapping Authority. It's the web address of the ARK owner. When I say the ARK owner, it means the owner of the identification of the identifier or the digital object. It means, for example, if you want to be an ARK owner, first of all, you have to have an official URL, and I think it's obvious, and it's the first part of an ARK identifier, and the second part is just a prefix ARK, and with this prefix, if someone find that type of URL directly, if you see this prefix, you can know that it's an ARK identifier. And the second part, the third part, the third component is that we call the NaN for name, assign, authority, number, and it's the first component which are really important. The NaN is an international unique number per authority. It means if you want to deliver ARK, you need to have a NaN. For example, us, we have our own NaN. The Stanford University, they have their own NaN. The California Digital Library, they have their NaN. In France, for example, the BNF, they have their own NaN. It means it's a unique identifier. And then the fourth component and the second very important component for ARK is that we call the NAASN, or the name ARK for something. For example, we call this part the ARK name, and this code permits to identify each digital object inside an authority. It means, for example, as authority, you have to have a NaN, and the NaN permits to identify the authority, and inside the authority, inside an authority, for all digital objects, you need to have a unique identifier, and we call that identifier name ARK. And finally, the last component, it's inside a digital object. You have to find an identification for elements which are inside the digital object, and we call that part the qualifier. So the ARK, as you can see, it's really simple, and it's an important point. ARK is designed to support a long-term access to information object. It means once an ARK identifier generated, it must permit to access the resource forever. It means if you publish an ARK identification, an ARK identifier, it means forever that identifier must respond. You have to you need to have a long-term support. And then the ARK system is also an answer to all problematic that I have pointed previously. First of all, the ARK are only URI designed, so it means an ARK identifier must answer if you use your browser and you point an ARK identifier on your browser, it must answer. It's ARK is only URI designed. ARK are fully based on hierarchy, as I noticed. For example, you have the authority, and inside an authority you have a digital object, and inside digital object you have elements. So ARK are fully based on hierarchy, and with the connection of authority, then digital object on it by the authority, and finally the content of the digital object, and then each ARK identifier is globally unique. And how we deal with ARC plus IIIF in Pléiades. It's simple. First of all, in Pléiades, for example, all users of Pléiades, they have their own name as authority. For example, Pléiades users are authority. Pléiades is not, Pléiades don't produce globally ARC identifier. It means, for example, if the Stanford library, they want to use Pléiades, they are using Pléiades with their own name. So it means all users have their own name, and all data is their own data. And the main problem we had was to generate a unique a name arc for each digital object. We found a solution by using the physical relative path in the data store. So I'll do a demonstration at the end for showing you how we do the connection with the relative path in the data store and the arc of the object. So in Pléiades process, the first step is to detect digital object by the relative path when we index a new document, and then each digital object are automatically associated to a new name arc. And finally, a IIIF manifest is generated. So with that system, one arc name is equivalent to a IIIF manifest, and one arc qualifier is equivalent to an IIIF canvas. And this system of connection between ARC and IIIF is very efficient. For example, the physical emplacement of the data in the data store can be changed without any impact in ARC identifier. For example, you can change your hoster. It means, for example, you can move from Gandhi in France. For example, you have OVH. You can go to OVH, and then you can go to Amazon Web Service. It continues to work. There is you don't have there is no impact in the data store. And also, if the content of a digital object change, player need just to update the qualifier, the ARC identifier. The digital object stays the same. And I'll do at the end some demonstration. We are using actually this system of connection between ARC and IIIF in production environment with some customers. And also there is some resource. So if you want at the end, you can ask for this presentation. I can send you the PDF of this presentation. It's why we have a page for some resources. And if you have any question before I do the demonstration, if you have any question, don't hesitate to contact us. Just what I want to say is the system ARC plus IIIF used in production environment since about 2 years, but we still continue to improve the code. For example, we are working actively on the authentication IPE, and also we will start sooner the migration to Mirador 3. Actually, we are using Mirador 2, and also we are using the version 2.0 of the presentation API and the image API. And as a conclusion, I just remind you that Pléiades is free, is and free open source software. You can download and install Pléiades, the simple version from our website or from SourceForge. But the advanced version, which contains the IIIF plus ARC module is still under development. So if you are interested to do a test with your own documents, we can give you access to a test environment. So I just finished that. We have just 5 minutes for doing a very quick presentation. Stop sharing. I'm just changing. Okay, let's see. I'm just changing windows. Okay, this one. Sure. So as you can see, for example, this is a complete version with Mirador 2. We have done some customization. For example, with our version of Mirador, you can print as you want. You can print many versions. You can, for example, add the image on a basket. You have a system of basket. And as you can see the Arc URL just here how it works. You have the URL of the authority. It's this part. You have the Arc prefix. You have the NaN here, just here, and this NaN is associated to the Mayen, the Mayen Public Archive in France. You have the arc name, and finally, this part, you have what we call the qualifier. And for example, F2, it means it's the second image. For example, if I change for going to the third image, you can see directly the qualifier change with the F3. And as I said, how we do the connection between arc and image, you can see, for example, the administration section, you can see we use the relative path of the resource. For example, on the data store, this is the relative path of the resource, and we do the connection with arc. And as you can see, and on our interface of administration, you can search arc, you can use, for example, if I want to find this arc, his number is just here. I'm just doing a copy and paste. You can see that this one is just here, and the associated data of this arc on the server is this one. And also, another demonstration that I do very quickly is, for example, we have a full complete version which works with OCR, and also we are implementing the search IPE. And with this version, you can do research. You can, for example, if I just here, for example, if I want on this document, I can search for, I just, hopefully I will find some border term. Research, no, there is no border. Okay, just let's search for Paris. Yeah, that's true. There is some Paris term. Just searching. Okay, I found some Paris term, and I can go to the page. You have the you can find the data, and you can do research on all this. And as you can see, all this part we are working with ARC and IIIF, and I can find the manifest IIIF. Oh, yeah, I think we will not have enough time for doing it, but if you have any question, don't hesitate to contact me. In all cases, if you have any question, feel free to contact us. You can contact me, Modudia, or you can contact Jean-Luc Albert, or also you can send us a message on our website, plat.com. So thank you so much for for being here, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Odu. That was a great overview. And I'll also say, maybe you could just drop some of those links or even contact info into the chat on the Whova site. People can find it there. But that's great. Thank you for presenting. Thanks, folks, for joining us. And I will end the recording here, and we'll see you at other sessions. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.